President's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark.
On October 14, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald applied and got a job at a place called the Texas School Book Depository. Here's how it looked at the time: a nondescript red brick building perched on the southeast corner of Houston and Elm Streets. It offered a magnificent view of a place called Dealey Plaza. Here's the building today. Now, the question of just how Oswald got the job just 5 weeks before President Kennedy's motorcade drove right by has been a long-standing question for those studying the assassination. Some think it's fishy. Surely, they say, proof of a conspiracy. I'm Paul Brandus, a longtime White House-based journalist, speaker at 7 presidential libraries. My latest is Countdown to Dallas. In Countdown to Dallas, I tell the rest of the story about Oswald and the depository, and for one surprising twist you might not know about, stick around to the end of this short video. That mid-October 1963 story starts here in the Dallas suburb of Irving, where Oswald's wife Marina and their 21-month-old daughter June were living with a woman named Ruth Payne. Marina was also days away from giving birth to her second daughter. Marina, the young Soviet emigre, had been living with Payne for 6 months, a woman she met through the local emigre community. Marina was the victim of spousal abuse. Lee was a wife-beater, hitting Marina on a regular basis. Ruth, who wanted to improve her Russian, took Marina in. That's the backdrop. Oswald, living on his own, was also unemployed. He'd just gotten back from Mexico City after a futile effort to get a visa to travel to Cuba. He needed a job badly. On the 14th, Ruth, Marina, and some other women in the neighborhood were having coffee, and the subject of Lee's unemployment came up. Oswald had several job prospects. One was at a bakery, the other driving a truck, but Lee didn't know how to drive. One woman at that coffee, Lenny Mae Randall, mentioned that her brother, Wesley Buell Frazier, had just gotten a job at the depository in downtown Dallas. She thought they might need an extra man. Now, Marina Oswald's English was poor. Lee did not allow her to learn it, so Ruth Payne called the depository and spoke with the boss there, his name, Roy Truly. Truly said, yes, he could use another man to fill orders for school books. Tell Oswald to come down and apply. Now, you have to remember what a pathetic work record Oswald had. He'd been fired from 2 jobs in just the past 6 months, and a potential third employer checked on a reference who said Oswald was not a good employee. Oswald was unwanted. His skills were minimal, but a menial job filling boxes with books. Oswald filled out this job application. His address was a lie. Said he'd lived in Dallas continuously. That was a lie. He had just gotten out of the Marines and was honorably discharged. 2 more lies. That he had been on his last job for 3 years. Another lie. 5 lies on 1 page. It's a reflection of Lee Harvey Oswald's habit of lying about, well, just about everything. But unlike other potential employers, Roy Truly did not check on any of this. It was just a menial job after all, so Oswald lucked out. So that's how Oswald got his job at the depository, a group of suburban women having coffee, lacking the skills to work in a bakery or drive a truck, having poor references that might have resulted in work elsewhere, on and on. It took a series of small things for this job to work out. Now, I mentioned one final twist to this story that may surprise you. I'll get to that in a second, but it's also important to remember this. When Oswald got the job, President Kennedy's visit to Texas had not been finalized. A trip had been announced, but the final decision on Dallas would not be made until a month later, November 14th, when the location for Kennedy's speech at the Trade Mart was set. That decision, that location, was made by none other than Ken O'Donnell, the president's top White House aide. The Secret Service had recommended other locations, other parts of town, which would have meant different motorcade routes. Conspiracy theorists who are sure that Oswald's job was some kind of setup, that he was somehow placed in the depository, can never explain how all of these little things, unconnected, ranging from suburban women having coffee to President Kennedy's own right-hand man picking that final location, occurred. And here's the final twist to this story. You might not know that in 1963, the Texas School Book Depository had another location at 1917 North Houston Street. Roy Truly, the boss, nearly assigned Oswald to that location. Had he done so, Lee Harvey Oswald would have been nowhere near Dealey Plaza on the day of the president's visit. Great tragedies often take a series of small and seemingly unconnected events to occur. This was one of them. There are other stories to tell about Oswald, his life, that very different era, decades of presidential security, and the attitude of numerous presidents towards it, and also the science of cognitive dissonance, why humans are wired to think and process information and data the way they do, and why this fuels the beliefs that so many people have in assorted conspiracy theories. Not just the Kennedy assassination, but everything from Pearl Harbor to the moon landing to 9/11, even Princess Diana's car crash. The science behind our beliefs, that's also explored. All of this and much more can be found in my latest book, Countdown to Dallas, and in a podcast of the same name. Both are available everywhere.